So as we know, the validity starts at 9, and we can request our next guest to maybe shift the validity maybe by a few minutes if required. Without any further ado, I invite Dr. Ashwani Kumar Upadhyay, Associate Professor, Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication, Pune. Dr. Upadhyay is an author of the book AI Revolution in HRM, the New Scorecard, published by Sage Publications. He has more than 20 years of teaching and research experience. He has research interest in intersection of technology, people, and strategy, with special focus on application of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and augmented reality in media and communication. Over to you, Dr. Upadhyay.
Thank you so much, Professor Pandey. I will start the presentation. I will share the presentation. Just 1 minute. I hope you can see it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've been fascinated with artificial intelligence for last 5-6 years. I had done my PhD in marketing technology adoption, and that was way back in 2006-7, and that was the start of my journey. And at that time, I used to study, organizations like Salesforce.com, who are now the leaders in, Salesforce automation systems. So from that time, I've been tracking artificial intelligence, algorithms, machine learning, and 5 years back, I started writing papers around artificial intelligence and its application in human resource management. And now I have like 2 students. One is Deepanita, who is attending this presentation. She is working in the field of AI in journalism. And I have another student who is working on misinformation and vaccine hesitancy. So that is how I know about this particular field. So typically, if you look at journalism, pardon me if I am harsh at some point of time, but as a news reader, as a person who is an outsider, and when I look at media organizations and how they are functioning, and specifically in India, so there is a lot of corporatization which has happened in media, and people say that the stories which are coming in media, they are not, so credibility is missing. And a lot of people complain that local stories, they are not getting coverage. Stories around climate are not getting covered. And a lot of people, they say that there are a lot of issues around misinformation, fake news, and the role of mainstream media in propagating such kind of misinformation. On the other end, when we look at, media organizations, they are having issues of economic sustainability. And at times, public is not sure about whatever news they are consuming, whether it's true or not. And if we look at even this COVID, what we find is that a lot of people call it as infodemic. The reason why they call it infodemic is because a lot of misinformation was circulating, and there was no way of checking this misinformation. So what I feel is, if we look at media organizations, if we look at the field of journalism, then a lot of solutions can come from artificial intelligence and its applications in journalism. Also, when we look at, as a news reader or a person who is watching something or consuming content on social media, what we find is that they are looking at personalized content. So some people, they may like short form content. Some people may like to read longer versions of the story. And that is how, the choice of consumers at time is not, or you can say, is compromised. So I feel that if we use artificial intelligence in ways, in the value chain of media, a lot of problems can be eradicated. So the first thing is that how do we define artificial intelligence? So most of us, we think that we are intelligent, but we also at times, lack intelligence. And a lot of people say that, common sense is something which is not very common. But when we talk about a machine being intelligent, we try to compare a machine with a person or a physical, person. So the intelligence which is shown by a human being, that intelligence should be present in a machine also. So let's take example of a car. So everybody, is talking about Tesla and self-driving cars and, car as a robo. But do you really think that Tesla is as intelligent as a human being? I doubt it. Because if we look at our Indian roads, you will find that Tesla, if it is running on Indian roads, there can be a, animal coming in front of it. There can be people who are not following rules. And so Tesla, an automated car, will find it difficult to navigate in Indian circumstances, right? So artificial intelligence, so if we currently look at how, machines are being developed, how computer programs are being developed, how technologies are being used, they're trying to imitate human beings. And at times, when these machines, they try to imitate human beings, they are not perfect. So we should be considerate in a way that imperfections will be there in machines. So let's talk about, language correction. So Grammarly is a software which people commonly use to correct, English language and grammar issues. And at times, the suggestion which you get from Grammarly, you don't find it to be appropriate. And that is the reason why Grammarly gives you an option of reviewing, and they suggest, and based on their suggestions, you can use your own intelligence to correct that. So if we look at, artificial intelligence and how organizations like BBC looks at artificial intelligence, then they are simply using the term artificial intelligence at places where machine learning is being used. Or they are also using it for voice agents or chatbots, and wherever natural language generation is happening. So we look at YouTube videos, we find that a lot of captions are being generated, and at times there are flaws in those captions. But still, we are at times finding use of those captions, because at the end of the meeting, for example, in Zoom meeting, or maybe in, even on Google, we can make use of those transcripts. So for example, earlier when we used to do in-depth interviews, we had to transcribe those interviews. But now the transcription can be done with help of the program which we are using to record our interview. Similarly, automatic translation, and Google offers all these services. So again, coming back to, driving a car. So if we look at journalists as people who are in business of driving cars, and media organizations as cars, so what we find is that there are technologies like Google Maps which help you navigate. So similarly, if you are looking for story ideas, if you are looking for data, then probably you can take help of artificial intelligence for news collection. So if we look at artificial intelligence and its applications in journalism, so the news value chain can be, classified into three important activities. One is news gathering, second is news production, and third is news distribution. So if we look at news gathering, then what we find is that sourcing information at times is important. And these days, when we look at our students at Symbiosis, what we find is that not many are interested in, the real journalism, investigative journalism, and they want to go into, fashion or lifestyle or those kind of beats. And that is because they feel that if they have to report crime or they have to, go and investigate, at times it can be hazardous and at times it can be very taxing also. But now what we find is that whenever you are doing anything online, there is a footprint. And similar to a postmortem, there can be a forensic analysis of your footprints. And that can also help you come up with, stories. So there are syndicates who are into investigative journalism, and you all are aware about those syndicates. And they are able to break stories. They are able to come up with investigations like Panama Papers just because they have used somewhere, artificial intelligence and text search and those kind of capabilities to go through the huge databases. So that is one application if you talk about sourcing of information. And then if we look at historical time, so Umashankar Pandey sir will be able to able to connect to that, because when we as kids used to watch DD News and people on the news channel, they used to talk about the weather predictions. They were so inaccurate. But now nobody even is bothered to listen to what was the temperature or what is going to be the weather in the next 24 hours or maybe in a week, because now you have applications like Weather App, and Weather App is again coming from IBM, and it uses artificial intelligence. So sourcing of information, reliable information is something which is being facilitated with artificial intelligence. Then story idea generation, identifying trends. So these are some of the applications of artificial intelligence which are related to news gathering. Then the next is news production. So artificial intelligence can be used to create content. A lot of content which these days people are creating on Instagram, etc., is using artificial intelligence. So if you talk about Snapchat using augmented reality and a combination of artificial intelligence also, where they try to map your face, they try to track your facial features, and then they help you apply filters. And that is all application of machine learning algorithms. So similarly, editing can be done. Packaging of the same story to different formats can be done with help of artificial intelligence. So if somebody is interested in watching a short format video, or if somebody is interested in reading a in-shorts type of story, which is like short format, that can be easily done with help of artificial intelligence. So some of people, at times say that you are into the business of public relations and you are trying to promote artificial intelligence, but I see myself as somebody who is an outsider, who is not having any stake as such in the technology. I'm just a user of the technology, and I try to, abstract from whatever I see, whatever applications I use, and whatever is being written about the technology and its applications. So at times I feel that I am actually taking a very fair view on artificial intelligence and the potential which it offers to the different industries. Then news distribution again is something which is talked about. So personalization, marketing to the audiences, understanding their sentiments, understanding what they are writing about in form of comments. It helps the journalists to improve upon their stories. It helps to correct the stories. So a lot of work is happening in news distribution space also. So If I say then why artificial intelligence should be used in journalism, so one important stakeholder is the journalist himself. So at times, journalists, they spend a lot of time in doing very clerical and monotonous work, and that can be, reduced with help of artificial intelligence. So a lot of editing, a lot of corrections, a lot of suggestions can come from softwares like Grammarly or maybe the other text editors. And journalists, they don't have to run from one place to another place seeking for information. Now a lot of things can happen on video, or maybe using data mining softwares, and you can actually get good insights and insights in the format which you want to have in. So one of the important fields these days is data journalism, and artificial intelligence with its predictive analytics and other analytical capabilities helps you develop that kind of acumen which you can use for data journalism. So a lot of people say that these days you need to be a computer engineer to be a good journalist, but I feel that it's just passing time. In next few years, just like you are using Android or you are using Windows, similarly you will be using different dashboards for your own personal purpose. Then these days, if you look at newsrooms, they are more into linear production, but with artificial intelligence, a lot of networking opportunities exist. And at times I feel that different news channels and different media outlets, somewhere they need to work as a network, and they need to try to capitalize upon whatever breaking news they are having, and they can have like sharing kind of arrangements. And plus whatever system you are building, it can also act as an engagement hub. So if you look at let's say New York Times or these kind of newspapers, so now they are more of multimedia kind of hubs which offer you content in the format which you like. They have also experimented with different kind of technologies other than artificial intelligence, like augmented reality, and I feel that future is going to be somewhere in metaverse, where a lot of interaction will be there, and that will all be happening virtually. So physical is important, but capitalizing on opportunities which virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence, when used together, offers, also need to be capitalized upon. Plus, it also helps you to build effective and efficient systems. So a lot of cost can be minimized. So you initially will be, having cost, but later on, you can actually reduce a lot of your cost with help of AI systems. Let's take example of learning itself, trading itself. There are a lot of opportunities exist. So once you have, recorded a video, then depending on the person's, the trainee's preference, that video can be consumed in forms of micro learning, etc. So all those are the possibilities which AI offers. So these are some of the applications which exist. So there is this report, which has been published by London School of Economics and Political Science, and there they are talked about these 10 applications as applications which are like very talked about. So Wall Street Journal, they use a dynamic paywall. So depending on the likelihood of person subscribing, they offer that person different levels of access to the website. And similarly, Washington Post, they have used Heliograph. Then Press Association, they use Radar. I will share the copy of the report. It's around 100 pages. You can go through that report. maybe read about these applications. Even if you Google, you will find details about these applications. And these applications, they are helping people write, journalists write local news stories, uh, you know, writing automated financial news, sports news stories. Then Times of London, they have this James journey on automated messaging for higher engagement through self-learning. Then Bloomberg, they have Cyborg. Then ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, they also have something. Then DeepL is another, system which is existing, which helps translate text. And New York Times, again, they have project fields. Then Texti's Leprosy of the Land. It's about illegal amber mining in Ukraine. So these are some of the applications which exist, which are somehow using machine learning, algorithms, artificial intelligence in some form or the other. So if we talk about what's working, then object extraction or automated tagging. So for example, if we talk about our institute, so we have a lot of content which is being generated, but when we need that content, we find it difficult to locate the content. So there are content management solutions like Uber, Flip, etc., which are using artificial intelligence to help you tag your content, and automated tagging is also happening. So as a news organization, you have a lot of content, you have archives, and at times, you have to use your own memory to figure out whether you have related content or not. But all that can happen with help of AI. Then automated fact checking. So when we consume content on Facebook or any other platform, what we find is that a lot of fake content is also happening there. And at times, media organizations, they tend to write stories using content which they have, borrowed from Facebook, somebody else post, and they run a story around that, and they don't even fact check it. So fact checking of whatever news you are, coming across, whatever data you are coming across, whatever insights you are coming across, that is an important activity, and that can be helped with that can be done with help of artificial intelligence. Then moderation of the content, speech to text, ad targeting tools, then forecasting behavior using propensity models, then machine generated content. These are few of the things which are working. So you must have heard about these deep fakes. So initially, celebrities, their pictures were morphed, and you had these pornographic content coming with celebrity faces. That was all, the deep fake technology which existed. But now you find that speeches of Obama and other, politicians, they are being manipulated with help of these deep fake technologies. So at times, if we, again go back in time, we see that, looking at a picture, people used to take and decide and, judge in, courts. Now, even if you have a video, you have to send it for forensic analysis just to make sure whether it's original content or it's a deepfake content. So with technology, faking is a phenomenon, but checking of the fake content can also only happen with help of technology. So what are the challenges that organizations are facing? So Dipanita, my PhD student, she had talked to few of the media outlets like Hindustan Times, etc. And the first thing she said was financial resources and willingness to invest. So most of the media organizations in India, either they don't have financial resources, or even if they have financial resources, they are not sure whether to invest or not, because they want successful case studies and they don't want to be somebody who is disrupting the industry. They say that, let other people try. If the attempts are successful, we will come up with better versions. Then lack of AI related skills. So difficulty in hiring talent is a big issue. Then skepticism towards new technologies. So a lot of existing journalists, they feel that what will they do if artificial intelligence comes and writes stories. So for example, financial news can be written with help of artificial intelligence, or coverage of sports events can be written with help of artificial intelligence. But if you look at value added news, if you look at news stories which are highly critical, for that your expertise is actually needed. But you can actually take help of artificial intelligence in collecting, gathering news, generating news ideas. So a lot of work. You can also write a short form of the story, put it on internet, see what other people are commenting on it, and then maybe extend it later on. So a lot of scope is there. And I don't think any journalist need to fear for job losses. I think that with artificial intelligence coming in, people, journalists, they will be performing better. They will be writing news on, issues of importance like climate change, local, rural. So those type of issues can actually be written about if you have, news in form of digital news where space is not a constraint. So if you look at pure play digital media news outlets, they run very extensive stories, and they are able to do that because space again is not an issue. They want to come up with best of their work, and they know that people who are interested in details will read those news stories. Then structural issues, including technical gaps between departments. That is again, so in production department, there are people who have been working for 2 decades, 3 decades. They don't want to update their knowledge. They have, resistance to change. They are hesitant. They are fearing that they may not be able to cope up with the new technology. Then lack of knowledge and understanding, lack of strategy at the managerial level, because again those people, they are also not having exposure to these new technologies. But I believe that with new generation coming in, with people with education from foreign universities coming in, and when they have seen those technologies being implemented in other foreign media outlets, I'm very sure that these technologies will pick up in India also. Then data quality, ethical concerns, these are also some of the big issues. So a lot of people say that, so when they have to criticize artificial intelligence, they say that the technology in itself is biased because the data which has been used to train this technology is biased. So those biases again can be checked over a period of time. The models can be corrected, and the tech infrastructure can be built. So those kind of things will improve over a period of time. But I feel that having a positive outlook towards artificial intelligence and related technologies is important, because if you don't have that outlook, it will be difficult for you to sustain in future. So everybody uses smartphone. So similarly, in future, everybody will be using some or the other form of technology. Even your television these days, when you are using Alexa, is again AI. So you just can't ignore it. So if you look at platforms like Netflix or Prime, they use this collaborative filtering to suggest content. So similarly, media outlets will also be suggesting content to the readers, to the subscribers, based on these kind of collaborative filtering technology using algorithms. And these are like successful technologies. Now, some people say that with AI coming in picture, people, viewers, audiences will be in a filter bubble kind of scenario. I feel that they will be in a filter bubble, but they are still, humans. So even if you are reading a certain newspaper, whatever you are reading is based on the judgment of the editor and the people who are working in that news organization. So again, that's also kind of bubble. So issues of gatekeeping, so you can build models where you can actually have gatekeeping roles also in place. So a lot of gatekeepers like journalists, editors, they feel that they will lose control over news, but that is already happening. When people are sharing news on WhatsApp or social media platforms, they don't have, so as a journalist, you don't have control over what they're sharing. But over here, I feel that role of these big tech companies like Facebook or now Meta and Google, and so all these players, they have an important role to play when it comes to checking spread of fake news and misinformation. But again, they also will have to use some form of artificial intelligence. So if you have to design an AI strategy, then you have to assess that at what stage you are. So I will not go into too much detail of this, but I will just talk about few points. So you have to assess your stage and your state of AI readiness. Then you have to shortlist what technologies you are looking at. Then probably you have to build a general strategy. Then you will have to look at the areas where you want to implement the AI technology. Then you also have to look at what resources you have, what skills you have, what kind of culture you have, what kind of possible resistance to change can be there, and you will have to create communications, and you will have to assign roles and responsibilities to people so that those resistance to change can be encountered, and then monitoring and reviewing of performance and priorities, and finally how your adoption of technology is going to affect your partners, clients, and other people outside your organization. So again, in the report which I'm talking about, there's a chapter on AI ethics and editorial policy. So those people who are interested in going and reading about this, they can actually go to this report and read about it. So it talks about economics, whether it's a saving or an investment. So a lot of people, they think that it's a big investment, but I feel that if you are not in the business, then any kind of saving is not going to help you, because you are in a business, you want to be competitive. And if you do not invest initially, and if you are not competitive using this technology, then later on, maybe you will be out of the market. And this has happened with a lot of people. So I'm a management professor, so I give example of organizations like Kodak, who despite of having technology initially, digital photography, didn't think about it, and now they are like out of business. Similarly, organizations like Nokia, again, they had not thought about how big smartphones can be, and what is the relevance of developing and having their own operating systems. They are, again, they have to change their line of business. Then algorithmic bias is something which one has to take care of. So I agree with the fact that algorithmic bias will exist, but there are ways of mitigating that bias. So you have to take proactive steps to mitigate that bias, because even as humans, we are biased. Then misinformation, filter bubbles. Again, this is an issue which I talked about. Then enhancement of editorial decisions, again, is something which can be done with help of AI. So you can actually evaluate news stories. You can look at the trends which are popular, and you can have stories around those trends. You can also build priorities where you may not have like great readership, but since the issue is important, therefore you run stories around those issues. So corruption, climate, those kind of issues are important and they need to be covered. Then balancing artificial and human intelligence, role of technology companies like Facebook, Google, that's also important. So if we talk about future of AI in journalism, then I believe that future is going to be augmentative journalism. When I use the term augmentative journalism, I need to say that journalists as human resources will be augmenting their skills and capabilities with help of information insights they get from artificial intelligence. So they will be coming up with efficient and effective content, and they will be writing more personalized content. And so once you have written the content, then the machine will personalize it based on the reader or the viewer who is watching or reading it. Then dynamic pricing of the content plus the ads can happen. Then you can find more stories. You can have automated transcriptions. We have talked about all these things. And even content moderation becomes quicker and manageable. You can identify fake news. You can use tools for debunking. You can use tools for fact checking. You can do reverse Google image search. So those are the kind of tools which are there existing. You can do sentiment analysis on user generated content and see that what's working, and again promote that kind of content. This is the report which I was talking about. So whatever points I've talked about are coming from this report. So if you are interested in knowing more, reading more, you can actually refer to this report. Plus Reuters as an organization, again, every year they come up with a report which you can refer to. And each year, so this year also they had come up with a report where again they have highlighted the importance and role of artificial intelligence. So I feel that the content which I've shared with you, the ideas which I've shared with you, you will find that useful. Just a second. So I feel that, so now I will talk about 2 minutes about the research which can happen in the field of AI and journalism. So primarily I am a researcher, so I don't want to miss out on that research angle. So if we talk about writing papers in the field of AI and journalism, so if you are writing about, maybe, gender or maybe children or maybe, other things which are existing. So you have a history of research, and when you are doing literature review, it's difficult to find new ideas. But when you are doing research in the field of artificial intelligence, journalism, or maybe any other allied area. So one of my students, she is doing PhD in the field of AI and public relations. So you can actually get good ideas, and you can do different kind of researches. And typically in a research parlance, I typically ask the student to write a bibliometric or a systematic literature review paper around the topic in which they want to do the research. So Dipanita, she had written a paper during her coursework, which is likely to be published in Newspaper Research Journal, and is around how technology is being used in print media industry, print journalism, and where she has talked about use of AI. And Newspaper Research Journal again is a good journal published by the Newspaper Research Society in US. So what I mean to say is that there is a good potential in terms of writing literature review papers, doing exploratory qualitative research. So you can interview 25, 30 journalists and take their views and write a typical exploratory qualitative research paper. Plus, you can write papers based on surveys So you can do survey of readers and their preferences and what they're liking, what they're not liking. You can run experiments where you can test stories which are written by humans vis-a-vis AI algorithm. So all forms of research methods can be used when you are researching in the field of AI and journalism. And topics like fake news, misinformation, these are topics around which a lot of new articles are coming, specifically in last 2-3 years, and there lot of potential is there in terms of doing research, at least in Indian context. So I hope that the presentation was useful, and now if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Dr. Upadhyay, for such a comprehensive presentation. So I would invite your PhD student Dipanita if she has questions, or whether she would like to share something about her paper as well.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Dipanita, go ahead, please.
Yes, I had a question for Dr. Upadhyay. It was, uh, I would like to know that when we talk about AI, we also talk about coding. So, is it, needed? Like a lot of there are questions revolving around it, that whether a journalist would need, you need to be trained on coding, and to be, working on AI. So I would like to have some, ideas from your end.
So when you are creating an Insta reel on Instagram, you don't need to be a coder. So similarly, when you are writing stories using the systems and the softwares which are built on artificial intelligence, you don't need to code actually. And same applies to multiple other um, systems also. That you don't need to be a coder, and whatever coding has to happen, then the media outlet will have people doing that technical job. So as a journalist, your job will be to write a story. There will be people who will be supporting you, and the system in itself will support you. So I don't think you need to be a coder to be a journalist.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it was an excellent presentation.
Dipanita, would you like to talk about your paper a bit?
Okay. Actually, the paper that I have written, it's to do with not just AI. I have spoken about the new forms in journalism. So, be it augmented reality or analytics or metrics that is being used in the newsroom. So, it's quite interesting because a lot of technology is being used not only in the vernacular press but also in the English newspapers. And it's as Dr. Upadhyay was saying, that technology is presently used to capitalize, yes, for financial stability. A lot of journalists, and it has been taken as an editorial decision to adopt this technology. So after my interview with journalists, I have seen that not just English newspapers, but also vernacular or regional papers, they are thinking about and also adopted this technologies. And of course, in the process, they are undergoing training. They are trying to learn. They are trying to, grasp how digital works, because most, if you see print media, it's, more importance is now given to the digital space. So how do you work on it? So a lot of work actually is going on, a lot of training is happening, and the focus being the digital media at present.
Thank you so much, Dipanita, for such a detailed answer. So, Dr. Upadhyay, we have time for one or two questions. So, before a question comes in, I want to put in my question. So, Do you think that this is yeah, Shayan, you have raised your hand, so please go ahead, Shayan Sharkar.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Ashwini sir, my question is, as the days are coming, new systems are coming in. So, like AI journalism you are talking about. So, don't you think it's becoming a threat for the older person who are the journalists?
It's not a threat. It's actually augmentative journalism. So the technology can be used to, even sitting on a desk, you can collect a lot of insights and write a good story. So
Okay.
earlier what was happening was you had a lot of information, tagging was not happening, and it was difficult to find information. So the way Google has revolutionized search, similarly artificial intelligence in the field of journalism is going to revolutionize and help the journalist. So it's not a threat.
Okay.
People who are there in the field for maybe 20-30 years, they have different kind of skills. So
Right.
I strongly believe that it's more about augmentation, it's less about threat. So these people, they will be able to do their job better with AI.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you once again. So my question is, whether the, Oja Saab, please let me just put in the okay, Oja ji, please go ahead. LB Oja.
शुक्रिया अश्विनी जी, बहुत ही बढ़िया से आपने इसको समझाया। मेरा सवाल ये है कि देखिए जर्नलिज्म को दो तरह से देखा जाता है, एक तो वो बिजनेस भी है और दूसरा उसका एक सोशल कंसर्न भी है। मैं चूंकि आप रिसर्च से हैं, मेरी ये जानने में रुचि है क्योंकि अभी कुछ जगहों से ये आ रहा है स्टेटमेंट कि ये जो पूरा आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस है या नई जो टेक्नोलॉजी है उसका इस्तेमाल बिजनेस के लिए तो बहुत हो रहा है, लेकिन जो सोशल इश्यूज हैं लोगों के, जो जेन्युइन जो रियल में जो सूचनाएं उनको चाहिए वो लगभग नहीं पहुंच रही। तो ये एक फीलिंग है। इस पर कोई रिसर्च है क्या कि मीडिया ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या दूसरे प्लेटफॉर्म जो है ये लोगों के इशू को एड्रेस करने के लिए इसका कितना इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं?
So the 10 examples which I mentioned over there is an example जहाँ पर कि you will find application of AI in writing local stories. So if something is happening at the school level, or if something is happening, small demonstration is happening, or some kind of protest is happening, so that was getting, that was not covered. But now with help of AI coming in picture, people are able to write more stories. People are able to generate templates which can be filled with help of, so localization of issues local issues are getting covered with help of AI, generated content and AI generated stories. So even, there's issues around climate change, etc. So earlier, a lot of people, they were not able to get hold of the data, but now with, organizations being forced to maintain and disclose a lot of data, so that data can be easily, analyzed with help of AI. And if you look at the Panama Papers, so those kind of issues were also being, investigated with help of AI. So the more the number of stories which will be there, so every city, if the same website is seen in different cities and in different geographies, they will be having different stories around the same topic. So you may not be interested in reading how much pollution or how much people are, getting affected because of some issue in some district, but you will be interested in reading about your own district or your own state. So all those things, personalization can happen with help of AI.
Okay, thank you.
So coverage of local issues will actually go up if we talk about application of AI in local news coverage and issues which are important, so they can be picked up, highlighted.
Thank you so much, Dr. Upadhyay, for such a comprehensive presentation, and I'm sure that these conversations will go ahead. I had intended to talk about, how AI is still to come up, maybe in language newspapers, because we still do not have that many, training sets and so on and so forth. But we are very, very short of time, and I think we will continue that on many other platforms, and we'll have many more sessions like that in days to come.